Darius Mercer knew better than to follow anomalous readings alone. Standard protocol demanded he call it in, wait for backup, then document from a safe distance. But the faint energy signature flickering on his scanner seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, desperate and fading. The abandoned mining outpost on Series 9 had been marked derelict for nearly a decade. No heat signatures, no combs, nothing but rust and regolith. Yet something was alive down there. "Command's going to have my hide," he muttered, descending through a collapsed access shaft. Ice crystals formed with each exhaled breath as he navigated the frozen corridors. The signal led him to a sealed storage bay. The door whined in protest. As he forced it open, revealing darkness beyond, his light beam cut through the blackness, catching on something in the corner, a form huddled beneath fallen debris. "Hello?" Darius called, rifle raised cautiously. "I'm with the Frontier Corps. I'm here to help." The figure shifted slightly. Darius approached, sweeping debris aside. Beneath lay a woman, but clearly not human. Her skin shimmered with a subtle violet hue, marked with intricate patterns that seemed to shift beneath the surface. Her eyes fluttered open amber, irises against black sclera. "Don't move," Darius said, kneeling beside her. "You're injured." She recoiled, fear evident in her expression. "They ... cannot find me," she whispered, her voice melodic despite the evident pain. "Who can't find you?" Darius asked, already wrapping his thermal blanket around her trembling form. Her skin was cold to the touch, but not as cold as it should have been after surviving in these conditions. "The Sentinels," she replied, glancing nervously at the doorway. "If they track me here—" "I need to get you medical attention," Darius insisted, preparing to lift her. Her hand shot out, gripping his wrist with surprising strength. "No." "They monitor all official channels. If you report me, they will come." Darius hesitated. Contact with unknown species without clearance meant immediate quarantine at best, court-martial at worst. But leaving her meant certain death. "What's your name?" he asked. "Nima," she said, her voice softening. Her fingers traced strange symbols against his wrist, leaving a warm sensation behind. "Please, if they ask, tell them I am yours." "Mine?" "Your mate," she clarified, eyes intense. "In my culture, claimed individuals fall under protection laws. They cannot touch me if I am bonded to another species." Darius swallowed hard. "That's against every protocol in the book." "Then leave." She said, releasing his wrist. "I would rather die free than return to them." Darius stared at her for a long moment. Something in her eyes spoke of a truth beyond her words, a desperation he recognized all too well. "I'm not leaving you," he decided, lifting her carefully into his arms. She weighed less than he expected, her body fitting against his chest like she belonged there. "Then what will you do?" she whispered against his neck. Darius headed toward the exit, his mind racing through scenarios, none of them ending well. "I guess I just got myself a mate." Nima's arms tightened around him, and he felt her tremble. Whether from cold or fear, he couldn't tell. But as they ascended toward his waiting transport, Darius knew his life had just changed irrevocably. He only hoped they'd both live long enough to regret it. False bond. The medical bay's antiseptic scent burned Darius's nostrils as he paced. Outside the examination room, base security had been suspicious from the moment he'd returned with Nima, but his quick thinking had given them temporary clearance. Integration Protocol 7B, he declared with confidence he didn't feel, found her at an emergency beacon site. "She's registered as my diplomatic consort under the Frontier Spiral Alliance Treaty." The lie had worked barely. Now he waited, while doctors examined her, praying no one checked the non-existent paperwork. The door slid open, and Dr. Vargas emerged, eyebrows raised. "Your wife is stabilized, Mercer." Remarkable physiology, her cellular regeneration rate is unlike anything I've documented. Can I see her? Darius asked, ignoring the way Vargas emphasized wife. She's asking for you. Just ... keep it brief. Commander Pierce wants a full debrief in an hour. Nima sat perched on the edge of the examination table, wrapped in a standard-issue patient gown that made her violet skin seem even more ethereal. She'd been cleaned up, her long silver-white hair now falling in waves around her shoulders. They believe our story, she said without preamble, voice low. For now. What happens when for now runs out? Darius closed the door behind him. I've bought us maybe a day before they start demanding documentation. Nima slid off the table, moving with unexpected grace for someone who'd been half-frozen hours earlier. Then we must be convincing until then. Convincing how? He asked, suddenly aware of how close she stood. My people the Valkyrie bond through biochemical synchronicity, she explained, reaching for his hand. Your scientists will scan for evidence of compatibility markers. Without them, they'll know our bond is false. Darius swallowed hard. And how exactly do we synchronize? A slight smile curved her lips. Physical proximity, for a start. She guided his hand to her waist, stepping closer until they were almost touching. Skin contact initiates the process. His throat went dry as her palm pressed against his chest. Is this how all Valkyrie marriages begin? No, she whispered, her amber eyes studying his face. This is unprecedented. No Valkyrie has ever bonded with a human. Then how do you know it will work? I don't, she admitted, but your scent, it's compatible, like iron and starlight. Before Darius could respond, alarms blared throughout. A facility. Security breach. His communicator buzzed Commander Pierce, demanding his presence. They've found me, Nima whispered, fear flashing across her features. Stay here, Darius ordered, moving toward the door. I'll handle this. Her hand caught his arm. If we're separated, the deception fails. She pressed her forehead against his shoulder. We must appear united. When they arrived at command, the room fell silent. Pierce looked between them, eyes narrowing. Interesting timing, Mercer. We've just received a diplomatic transmission. The Valkyrie Conclave claims we're harboring a fugitive. Nima's hand tightened in his. Darius stepped forward. My consort is protected under alliance law, sir. Consort? Pierce's skepticism was palpable. The Valkyrie representative seemed quite surprised to hear one of their kind had taken a human mate. Political maneuvering, Darius replied without hesitation. My wife's status makes certain factions uncomfortable. Status? Pierce leaned forward. Darius felt Nima tense beside him. He'd stepped into territory he didn't understand. My personal status is irrelevant, Nima interjected, her voice suddenly carrying an unmistakable authority. The bonding ritual was completed according to both our customs. I stand with my mate. The room's atmosphere shifted subtly. Something in her tone made even Pierce straighten his posture. We'll verify your claim, Pierce said finally. Until then, you'll remain in quarantine quarters. Together. As they were escorted out, Darius whispered, what status was Pierce talking about? Nima's expression remained neutral, but her eyes darkened. The less you know, the safer you'll be. I think we're well past safety concerns, he muttered. In their assigned quarters, Nima finally turned to him. Tonight, when they scan, they must believe we are truly bonded. How? Darius asked. Her fingers traced the line of his jaw. We must share more than proximity, Darius Mercer. We must share ourselves. The quarters' lights dimmed to night cycle levels as Darius studied the surveillance blind spots he'd identified. He'd positioned their sleeping mats in the safest corner, though he doubted he'd sleep at all. Nima sat cross-legged on her mat, eyes closed in what appeared to be meditation. Since the confrontation with Pierce, she'd been quieter, more withdrawn. "You should have left me," she said suddenly, eyes still closed. "Your career, your life, you've risked everything for someone you don't know." Darius continued his security. "Check. I know enough. Do you?" Her eyes opened, luminous in the dim light. "You don't even know what I am." "I know you were willing to die rather than be found," he replied, finally sitting across from her. "That tells me enough about what you're running from." A soft chime interrupted them, the scanner activating. Blue light swept the room, analyzing biological markers, proximity patterns, pheromone levels. Nima moved with startling speed, closing the distance between them. "Hold me," she whispered urgently. "Now." Darius pulled her against him, her body fitting perfectly against his. The scanner's light lingered over them, focusing on their contact points. "Not enough," she murmured against his neck. Her lips brushed his skin, then unexpectedly, her teeth grazed the sensitive spot below his ear. Darius inhaled sharply as warmth radiated from the contact point. "What are you?" "Biochemical exchange," she breathed, guiding his mouth to the junction of her neck and shoulder. "Your turn." Something primal overtook his hesitation. His lips pressed against her violet skin, tasting something like cinnamon. And ozone. The scanner's light intensified, then abruptly shut off. They remained entwined for several heartbeats after the scan completed. Nima's fingers traced patterns along his spine, each touch leaving trails of warmth. "It worked," she said softly, reluctantly pulling back. "For now." Darius found himself strangely disappointed by the separation. "You keep saying for now. What happens next?" Before she could answer, the lights cut completely. Emergency backups failed to engage. Darius reached for his sidearm, positioning himself between Nima and the door. "Stay behind me." "No," she countered, retrieving a thin blade from somewhere. In her clothing. "Stand with me." The door's manual override engaged with a soft hiss. Darius aimed at the widening gap, finger tightening on the trigger. A shadow moved impossibly fast. Darius fired, but the intruder was already inside, a tall figure in dark armor, not base security, not human. "Sentinel," Nima hissed, lunging forward with her blade. The fight erupted in near-darkness grunts, the clash of metal, bodies colliding. A second figure slipped through the door, heading straight for Nima. Darius intercepted, tackling the second attacker. They crashed into the wall, the impact knocking the breath from his lungs. Hands with inhuman strength closed around his throat. Through dimming vision, he saw Nima fighting with astonishing skill, her movements fluid and precise. She drove, her blade into a joint in her attacker's armor, drawing a shriek of pain. With desperate strength, Darius broke his attacker's grip and slammed his fist into what he hoped was a vulnerable point. The sentinel staggered back. "Darius!" Nima tossed her blade to him. He caught it and drove it deep into his attacker's chest. The body convulsed, then went still. Nima had already disabled the other sentinel, who lay motionless on the floor. Blood darker than human, almost black-pooled beneath both bodies. Breathing hard, Darius turned to her. "You fight like a soldier." "I was trained since childhood," she replied, retrieving her blade and wiping it clean. "All royal children are." The word struck him like physical blow. "Royal?" Nima's expression tightened. "I was third scion of House Valkyrie. Until the purge began." "You single quotes a princess?" "A target," she corrected, checking the fallen sentinels for tracking devices. The current regent ordered the execution of all potential claimants to the throne. My entire family was eliminated. I was supposed to be dead with them. Darius stared at the bodies, then at Nima, seeing her in a new light. Not just a fugitive, royalty in exile. We need to move, she said urgently. Where these two came from, more will follow. Why tell me now? Her eyes met his, something vulnerable flickering in their depths. Because now you're not just harboring a fugitive. You're harboring the rightful heir to the Valkyrie conclave. Growing. Trust, Dawn Cycle found them in the maintenance tunnels beneath the base, having left the quarters after disposing of the Sentinels. Darius had accessed his emergency cache weapons, rations, comms jammers, while Nema reprogrammed the bases. Internal sensors to mask their movements. You're full of surprises, Darius commented as she bypassed another security node with remarkable efficiency. Royal training include hacking Earth systems? Valkyrie education is comprehensive, she replied, fingers dancing across the interface. Especially for those who might one day negotiate with other species. They paused in a junction chamber, relatively secure from detection. Darius spread out schematics of the base, planning their next move. The Sentinels were an advance team, Nema explained, studying the plans. They confirm a target before the Executor arrives. Executor? Elite assassins, one for each royal house. Her voice remained steady, but Darius noticed her hands trembled. Slightly. They never fail. Darius reached over, covering her hand with his. The contact seemed to calm her. First time for everything. Her amber eyes lifted to his. Why are you still helping me? You know what I am now. The danger I've brought to your doorstep. Good question, he admitted. Maybe I have a problem with authority. Or maybe I don't like the idea of someone being hunted for who they were born. As a ghost of a smile touched her lips. A noble sentiment from a species known for its self-preservation. We have our moments. His thumb traced circles on her wrist, feeling her pulse faster than human, but steadying under his touch. Besides, we've already established I make terrible decisions. The worst, she agreed, but didn't pull away. They spent the day fortifying their position and setting up detection grids. Darius showed Nema how to use human weapons. She taught him Valkyrie, hand-to-hand techniques. With each exchange, the space between them diminished. During a brief rest period, Nema unwound the bindings covering her forearms, revealing intricate markings that seemed to shift beneath her violet skin. Royal lineage markers, she explained, seeing his fascination. They record our bloodline, our training, our ... compatibility. Compatibility? Valkyrie royals bond strategically. These show potential genetic matches. She hesitated, then guided his fingers to trace a particular pattern. This one appeared the day you found me. Darius felt a warm resonance where his skin met hers. What does it mean? It's unprecedented, she whispered. No Valkyrie has ever been compatible with a human. Yet here we are, he said softly, pretending to be bonded. Yes, she replied, her voice barely audible. Pretending. The moment stretched between them, taut with unspoken possibilities. Darius found himself leaning closer, drawn by something beyond conscious thought. Nema's breath caught as his forehead pressed against hers. The biochemical exchange, she murmured. It affects perception, creates ... attachment. Is that what this is? He asked, his hand gently cupping her face. I don't know, she admitted. I've never felt. The proximity alarm interrupted, its soft pulse warning of approaching figures. The moment shattered as both leapt to their positions. 4 signatures, Darius reported, checking the scanner. Moving with tactical precision. The Executor, Nema confirmed grimly, and his team. Darius handed her a weapon. We've prepared for this. Darius, she said, her voice suddenly vulnerable. If I don't survive. He silenced her with a kiss brief, but fierce. We survive together or not at all. Surprise flickered across her features, quickly replaced by determination. She touched the spot where he'd kissed her, then nodded once. Together, then. As they took their positions, Darius realized something fundamental had shifted between them. The false bond had grown roots, tendrils of truth weaving through the deception. When the executor came, they would face him not as strangers bound by circumstance, but as something neither of them had words for, yet something real. The executor moved like shadow given form, fluid, relentless, seemingly everywhere at once. His team had fallen within the first minutes to Darius and Nema's prepared defenses, but the executor himself proved unstoppable. Darius fired his last energy cell, the blast grazing the assassin's shoulder. The executor didn't even flinch, continuing his inexorable advance. Nema, Darius called, falling back to their final position. Status? Override complete, she replied from behind a barricade of equipment. 30 seconds to full transmission. Darius nodded grimly. Their last-ditch plan: broadcast evidence of the purge to every diplomatic channel in the sector. If they couldn't survive, they'd ensure the truth did. The executor paused, tilting his head curiously. His voice, when he spoke, was unnervingly melodic. Third sign, this pursuit ends now. Your blood belongs to the Conclave. My blood belongs to me, Nema replied, stepping into view. She donned the ceremonial marks of her house, painted hastily, with borrowed pigments, as does the throne you seek to usurp. The regency has been decided. The executor's black eyes narrowed. Your survival is an ... inconvenience. Then be inconvenienced, Darius interjected, positioning himself beside Nema. She's under my protection now. The executor's attention shifted, studying Darius with clinical detachment. The human consort, an interesting fiction. Not fiction, Nema declared, her hand finding Darius's. By the laws of succession, I have taken a mate of my choosing. Our bond is recognized under both Valkyrie and Earth law. Impossible, the executor hissed. No human can complete the true bonding. Nema's fingers tightened around Darius's. You're wrong. Without warning, she pulled Darius close, her free hand pressing against his chest. He felt sudden warmth spreading. From the contact point, intensifying until it bordered on pain, the executor took a step back, genuine shock registering on his features. The resonance ... it cannot be. Darius gasped as energy coursed through him. Nema's eyes locked with his, apologetic, determined, and something else he couldn't name. Trust me, she whispered. Then, louder, I claim this human as my bonded mate by the ancient rites of House Valkyrie. Our souls are joined, our fates entwined. Strike at one, you strike at both. The ritual words seemed to carry physical weight. The executor visibly recoiled as Nema's markings began to glow with golden light that spread to encompass Darius's. Well, what have you done? The executor demanded. Claimed what is mine, Nema answered, her voice carrying new authority. And what is his? The transmission alert chimed evidence delivered across the sector. Simultaneous alarms blared throughout the base as Earth security forces finally breached the sealed section. The executor assessed the situation with cold calculation. This changes nothing. The Regent will not recognize. The Regent no longer matters, Nema interrupted. The truth of his crimes is now known to all worlds, as is my survival and my claim. Commander Pierce's voice echoed through the comms. Mercer, report status. The executor backed toward the shadows. This is not finished, Third Scion. No, she agreed. It's just beginning. When security forces finally reached them, they found Darius and Nema surrounded by fallen sentinels, still enveloped in the fading golden light of the bonding. Pierce stared in disbelief. What the hell happened here, Mercer? Darius looked at Nema, seeing her now as she truly was, not just a fugitive or a princess, but his partner. Diplomatic incident, sir. Seems I accidentally married royalty. Not accidentally, Nima corrected softly. The resonance doesn't lie. We were always meant to find each other. The Valkyrie conclave is in chaos, Pierce informed them. There, transmission networks are flooded with evidence of the region's purge. Half their fleet has declared for a rightful heir who's supposedly taken an Earthmate. His eyes narrowed. I'm guessing that's you. Nima straightened, every inch the royal she was born to be. I am third scion Nima of House Valkyrie, and yes, this human is my chosen consort. So what happens now? Darius asked. Now, she said, turning to face him fully, we return to my people, together. As what? Your human pet? Her smile was radiant and fierce. As my king. 3 months later, they stood on the observation deck of the Valkyrie royal vessel, watching Earth recede in the distance. Darius's new markings still strange against. His human skin glowed softly in response to Nima's touch. Having second thoughts? She asked, sensing his contemplative mood. About leaving Earth? No. He drew her closer. About becoming royalty on an alien world? Possibly. She laughed, the sound still his favorite discovery. You'll adapt. You're surprisingly compatible. So I've been told. His fingers traced the permanent bond mark at her collarbone, his mark, placed there during their formal ceremony. Still, I never imagined when I followed that signal that you'd find me. She finished. That I'd find home, he corrected. Nima's expression softened. She took his hand and placed it over her abdomen, where a new warmth pulsed beneath her skin. Our resonance created more than just a political alliance, she said quietly. The healers confirmed it yesterday, the first human Valkyrie child. Darius stared at her in wonder, then at his hand cradling the impossible future growing within her. Impossible, he whispered. Only until it happens, she replied, like us. As the stars stretched before them, Darius realized some signals were worth following no matter where they led. What had begun as a desperate plea in a frozen outpost had become the most important journey of his life, one that would echo across worlds for generations to come. Not just a rescue, not just a claim. Beginning.